What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Really quick, before we get this video started, I just wanted to mention that we started making new t-shirts with the new design. Hope you guys like them. We're going to start selling these here relatively soon. And we're also looking into making black shirts with white logos and potentially red shirts or maybe green shirts, but we'll see. We'll get there when we get there. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. We're going to start making shirts. If you guys want one, they're going to be about 20 bucks. Shipping might add a little bit more depending on where you guys are located, but we'll figure that out when we get there. If you'd like one, shoot me a message, comment on the video, or hit me up on Instagram at SleepyEG, and we'll get you situated with a shirt. So just let me know. Without any further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and go out to the garage and we're gonna get started on this water pump. Hopefully we can get that leak fixed and get the Civic running. So let's dive right in. Alright guys, we're out in the garage now, looking at the hatch. That's a big old leak that we got coming from underneath it, so hopefully we'll get that fixed up today. I also got the exhaust gaskets for it, so I can hook the exhaust up. And I got some more the radiator fan ties, so I can take that fan back off. I was actually reading the instructions for it. So for whatever reason, this old cheap Amazon radiator, or wherever I got it from, I don't even remember at this point, the fan that I was using on my old radiator, the polarity of the wires, you could just flip them and it would flip the direction of the fan, so you could use it as a push or pull. Whereas this one I was reading the instructions on, and it doesn't work like that. In order to change it from push to pull, you actually got to take the blades off, flip the blade over, and then put it back on the fan. So we're gonna have to take that fan back off, flip the blades over, or maybe even just leave it how it is and try to mount it on the inside. There's a little bit of room. I could probably squeeze it in there, but we'll see. I don't know. It'd probably be easier to leave it on the outside and just flip the fan blade. So that makes me wonder if maybe I just have the wires backwards. So we'll dive into that a little bit later. I'm gonna get the leak fixed, hopefully, get my exhaust hooked up, and then we'll start working on that a little bit later today, or maybe tomorrow. We'll see. But I also got some of these little like nipple guys that we can put over that little, I don't even know what you call it, the little drain hole thing on the side of the radiator that I put the tube on in the last video. So we can try to get a more permanent fix for that. And yeah, so we're just gonna go ahead and try to button this thing up and get it as road ready as possible. So that way, hopefully we can get it on the road here soon and then go take it up to a dyno, get it put on the dyno, see what kind of power we make, and get a legit tune on it. So we're getting really close, guys. Super, super close. Small setback with the water pump, but we'll get that situated today. I don't imagine it's gonna take too terribly long or be too terribly hard. So I'm gonna dive right into that, guys, and we'll get this thing moving. All right, guys, so I just got the timing cover all off. So you can see all the timing belt and everything's exposed here. You can still see where it's pretty wet down here on like the oil pan and stuff, but what's strange is the water pump seems to be dry. Everything up here is all good and dry. So I'm not really sure where to go with this, but I'm gonna go ahead and take the timing belt off, and then I'm gonna check all of the bolts in the water pump to make sure they're all good and tight, just in case, because I feel like it's coming from the water pump. I don't know where else it could be coming from back there. Worst case scenario, if the water pump's no good, the gasket's bad or whatever, I have 2 spare water pumps in here, so we can go ahead and replace it with a new one. So we'll go ahead and get that pulled off, see what we can figure out here. All right, you guys, so I got the coolant draining out now from that little nipple in the radiator. So it's draining down. Once it's all the way drained, I'm just gonna take the water pump off and replace it, because you can kind of see when you look up through here. I don't know how you'll be able to see it on the camera, but right here, you can kind of see where it looks like some dry coolant underneath the water pump was dripping down. Same with right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and say the gasket on that water pump's no good. I'm not sure if that's the one that came off my ridge line when I did it, and I saved it for whatever reason. I don't know. It's probably an old water pump, so I'm gonna go ahead and replace it with the new one, and then we'll get everything back together and see what happens. All right, guys, Walker just got here, and we just ran up to the store and got some RTV we can put on the new water pump that we're gonna run on there. This water pump is definitely past its prime. The one that we pulled out that was leaking, the gasket on it's basically shot completely. So this one's basically new, and then we're gonna put some RTV on it just to be 100% sure it's not gonna leak. And we'll put it all together and see what happens. So hopefully that will fix our problem here. So we'll see what happens. All right, guys, got the timing cover or the timing belt back on. So now we can go ahead and put the timing cover back on, and then the engine mount back in, and then we'll be done. We'll let it sit for a little bit, and then we'll try to start it up and see what happens. Well, you guys, unfortunately, we got the car all back together. We started it, let it warm up a little bit, and it's still leaking from behind the timing cover. So I got to do it all over again, and hopefully try to figure out where it's actually coming from. So I might end up getting an actual new water pump this time, just to rule that out. Still use RTV on it, which is weird. I feel like it shouldn't have leaked because that was on there, regardless of if the seal was bad. But oh well, we'll take it back apart, we'll figure it out, and hopefully we'll be able to get this leak fixed, because it's right now kicking my butt. But we'll see. All right, you guys, I'm back out here in the shop today and hoping we can get to the bottom of whatever the heck this leak is on the hatch. So when I took it apart last time, it was kind of hard to see or tell what actually was leaking because everything had already dried up. So my plan today is I'm going to go ahead and start it, let it run for a couple minutes until it starts leaking, and then I'm going to turn it off and start taking it apart. So that way all of the coolant that's on everything will be fresh, and it should be easier to track down where the leak's coming from. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing started up, and we'll wait for it to start leaking, and then we'll start tearing into it. Alright, you guys, so you can see once again everything up at the water pump is dry, but we've got this massive puddle of coolant down here around the crank position sensor, but everything above really the crank is dry. I don't get it. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the crank position sensor off and see if maybe there's something behind it that's causing this leak, and yeah, we'll go from there. Alright, so I took the crank position sensor off. Obviously, there's a puddle of coolant in there, but nothing that looks suspicious. I was thinking maybe the main seal behind that crank position gear right there maybe going bad, but really the only thing that should be holding back is oil, not coolant. But upon looking a little closer at this water pump situation we got up here, let me see if I can get a little lower. Right up above this bolt right here, I don't know if you guys can see that or how well, but there is a little spot of coolant dripping off the bottom of the water pump right there. So I'm wondering if maybe it's just pushing out through that little hole and creating this leak, because I just touched it with my finger and it's definitely wet with coolant. But that's the only spot I see. Everywhere else looks completely sealed off except for that one little like almost green spot right there. So I don't know, guys. I guess we'll end up taking this water pump off and try re-RTVing it with the different RTV this time, and see if we can fix it, because I'm really at a loss here. But that's about all I can think. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the rest of this thing taken apart, get the motor mount off, and then we can get the timing belt and everything off, and then we can get to that water pump and try this all over again. Alright guys, so I got the belt and everything off, and now you can kind of see the spot a little better right here, where it looks like it's got a brown stain. It's wet with coolant, so I imagine that's where it's leaking from. It might just be trickling out of there like a stream, you know, once it's all together. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this water pump off, do what I can to get the rest of that RTV off, and then we'll clean it up, reapply the RTV, or a different kind of RTV, and then we'll reassemble and try again. So we'll see what happens, guys. Alright, you guys, so I got the water pump back on there with the new RTV. And this time I'm gonna follow the instructions on it and let it sit for 1 hour at finger tight to kind of stiffen up a little bit. Then I can come out here and torque everything down, and then we can reassemble. And yeah, hopefully this time it won't have any leaks at all. I generously applied the RTV this time, so I can't imagine it's gonna leak. And if it does, then I don't know what else the cost could be. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and let that sit for an hour, and then we'll come back out here and hopefully get it all back together. All right, guys, I'm back out here now. The other night, I ended up putting RTV on that water pump, putting it back on, letting it sit for an hour to cure, and then torquing everything down. So tonight I can go ahead and put it all back together again for the who knows how many time, and hopefully it won't leak. So we'll see what happens. If it leaks this time, I'm just gonna go to AutoZone and buy a new water pump, and hopefully that will, you know, fix the problem. But hopefully it won't leak and we won't have to worry about it. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and jump in this thing, get it all put back together. I think I have to get some gas for it because I tried to start it last night and it would not. It like sounded like I wanted to, but it wouldn't actually fire, and the gas gauge has been below the E every time I've been out here messing with it since I got the engine back together. So I imagine it's probably out of gas. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some more gas for it, try that, and we'll go from there. So yeah, let's jump into this thing and hopefully get it put back together again. Alright guys, I just got everything back in time, and I turned the whole engine over 1 revolution to make sure that everything lined back up and we're good to go. So now I can go ahead and put the timing covers back on, motor mount back on, and get this thing back together. So we are getting there, guys. guys, we just got all of the timing stuff put back together on the hatch. Everything's ready to go, so now we can go ahead. Well, I gotta go down to the gas station and get some gas because I think it's out. So I'm gonna go to the gas station, grab a gas can, and yeah, we'll fill this thing up a little bit and see if it starts. And if it starts, then we'll see if it leaks again. And if it leaks again, then I don't know what we're gonna do. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, guys. So let's go get this thing filled up. I don't know what's going on, guys, but it does not want to start now, apparently. So I'm gonna go get my laptop, hook it up, and make sure everything seems like it's reading properly on there, and then yeah, we'll go from there. I don't know. All right, guys, we're up and running. So now we'll just wait and see if we see any leaks underneath it. All right, you guys, we definitely still got some leaks. We've got an oil leak, looks like back there. You see that dripping. Then here looks like more oil. It's hard to say. And then up here we got coolant somehow. But for the most part, it's now looking like oil leaks. So it's hard to tell where it's coming from, guys. I'm hoping it's something simple. I really don't want to pull the oil pan off this thing and have to redo the gasket on that, but part of me is thinking that's what it is here. But you can just see it just dripping like crazy on the floor there. But it's definitely much less coolant than before, so I'm thinking at least the water pump issue is fixed. Now we just got an oil leak issue. So we'll get that straightened out, guys, and then we'll get this thing rolling here. But yeah, this side we've got all sorts of stuff on the ground, but I also spilled coolant everywhere, taking the radiator or the fill cap off because I wanted to see if it was flowing through there yet, but didn't appear to be. So yeah, guys, we're making progress here, sort of. I'm not going to be pulling that water pump off anymore because I'm definitely thinking that's not any of the issue now. We'll just try to diagnose this oil leak and then we can go from there, guys. Alright, you guys, that's going to do it for this video. It has been a mission. I think, what is that, 2 or 3 water pumps later. And yeah, we still have an oil leak, but it is what it is, guys. It's to come with builds like this. So I just got to try to figure out where I went wrong with any of the oil system and hopefully get her fixed. So anyways, guys, without further ado, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.